Okay, everyone, welcome back. We got another week of Down the Line on the Below the Belt Sports YouTube channel. Big week in baseball, as I always start with. It's always a big week in baseball. But it feels like a time of reckoning for the New York Yankees, and that's what we're going to start with today. After getting swept by the Detroit Tigers, one of the worst team in baseballs, splitting a series with the Rays, which, in hindsight, really not that bad. We kind of wanted a big week coming off of that sweep of the Tigers, but, splitting with the Rays overall in the grand scheme of things, not bad. And then we got swept by the Red Sox. I'm close to panicking, Nick. I'm very close because I think the actual number now is 6.5 games out. At the time that we're recording, the 6.5 games out of first place. And June, this is right around the time we're going to start looking at power rankings again. The power ranking cleanse is almost over, our pledge. And it's kind of that time of the year where it's like, okay, if you're 6.5 games out and the Rays are right now kind of the best team in baseball and the Red Sox are still playing well, that's not easy to come back from. That's not a lock, no matter how hot you get, because these teams can still play just as well. So I'm right on the border of panicking right now. So where are you at, Nick? Where are you?
I'm right with you. I think my finger's on the panic button. I'm ready to press it. Look, I'll try and keep this brief because I could talk for hours. There's a million problems with this team. Aaron Boone, first of all, firing him, does that make the Yankees hit? No, I doubt they're going to fire him in season. That hasn't happened since 1990. Brian Cashman's been at the helm for 24 years. He's fired 3 managers. I don't see it happening. That being said, obviously infuriating last night. Odor gets punched out on that strike 3 call with a pitch a foot off the plate. Did that lose the Yankees the game? No, but it took away a chance for them to end the game right there. And to let 2 of his coaches get ejected before himself, one of whom is Phil Nevin, who lost 22 pounds, was in the hospital with a staph infection from COVID, and he's out there with an IV in his arm, and Boone's holding him back, not saying a word. That's infuriating. On top of that, his decision-making makes no sense. He pulls Domingo Germán with 84 pitches with Loaiza and Green unavailable, which, you know what, fine. I get it. Maybe you really want to get Devers there because he could tie it up with a swing of the bat. Germán had just walked Bogarts. Go to Licky. Licky gets him great. You leave Licky in, the lefty, for the righty part of their lineup when Renfroe and Gonzalez burned him for a single and a double on Friday. These guys both hit lefties way better than righties. It's like a 168 OPS plus versus a 90 and like a 129 versus a 50 for Gonzalez. Like, crazy difference. You let him stay in there. Why? If you're going to try and stretch someone out, I'd rather it be Germán, who's the starter, the better pitcher, still at a low pitch count, or go to Sessa. If you really want Licky to face Devers, go to Sessa there. Like, his decision-making makes no sense. They don't put these guys in positions to succeed. How is Giancarlo Stanton playing every 2 out of 3 games coming back from the IL? If that's the case, send him on a rehab assignment. He needs to get his timing down. He's such a timing-based hitter. He's feast or famine, and this team is starved for power. We need to get him back. Why even send him to Detroit? Why activate him for these series if he's not going to play every day? And then you bring him off the bench cold, so you're telling me he went through his entire routine to get ready for the game, but he can only take 1 at bat instead of 4? Like, where is the logic in that? You have Andujar playing left, who he's doing his best out there, but he's got to catch that Bogarts double on Saturday that sets up the Devers 2-run single. Like, a normal left fielder catches that. Brett Gardner catches that, no problem. And then Clint in right. Why is Aaron Judge not playing right field last night? Aaron Judge makes that catch with his fucking eyes closed, and DJ's trying to make an acrobatic catch because Clint doesn't know how to charge a ball. Like, we have terrible defenders everywhere. I haven't even touched on the base running, and the lineup is just horrible. It's horrible. DJ LeMahieu, like, I love the guy for what he did in 2019-20. I'm not trying to say I wasn't desperate to re-sign him. I was. He's been terrible. It doesn't absolve him of blame this year because of how good he was the last 2 years. He's striking out way more. He does not hit the ball hard anymore. It really looks like he's a product of the juice balls. Glaber's power is gone. I love Gio. He's not hitting for a ton of power. Gardner, Andujar, and Frazier give you nothing offensively. I know Andujar had a couple homers this week and Clint had the walk-off, but realistically, they give you nothing offensively. Stanton hasn't got his timing back. Voigt's still hurt. This lineup is horrible, and the pitching wasn't great this week, but Tyone, even King, Germán, those are all winnable starts. Like, they're winnable games. So I don't know what gives with this team. Do I think they can turn it around? Yes. At a certain point, though, it's going to be too late. Like you said, the Blue Jays, Rays, Red Sox, all talented teams, all good teams. I don't think any of them are world beaters, but they're all really good teams. And then just to end it off, one stat, Boshek found it. Bases loaded, no outs, double plays. None for 17 teams. 1 for 11 teams. The Red Sox have hit 2. The Yankees have hit into 7. No one's hit into more then 2 no out base low double plays, the Yankees hit to 7. So if that doesn't show you the problem, I don't know. So I don't have solutions right now. I know change needs to be made, but it's just horrible all the way around.
Yeah, Nick, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, because I think you hit every single problem. It would have been tough to miss the nail with that one, with that rant. But I mean, I agree with everything. There's nothing good about this team right now. The only exception is the starting pitching. And they have done their job. I mean, we've said it all year. They have done their job. They have pitched more than well enough, well above expectation for most of these guys, and keeping this lineup a chance to win the game. But like, what is the solution? Like, I don't really know where to go from here, because you're right. They're not firing Boone. I really don't see them making the blockbuster trade yet, because I mean, no one really does this until the deadline, until they see if they're buyers or sellers. So like, what do you do right now? Because you cannot fall. Like, let's say you have another bad series. Let's say we got the Twins next, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because the Yankees have been successful against the Twins in the past doesn't mean that, and the Twins are actually god awful this year, but let's just assume that both teams are just playing bad right now. Let's say you lose 2 out of 3 to the Twins, and let's say the Rays stay hot and the Red Sox stay hot. There's a chance you're 8 games back after this. That's not like a nothing. Like I said earlier, that's not nothing to come back from. That is a hill to climb. And if you don't have changes set up or change on the horizon, like, there's a good chance you don't come back from that. Just because you're the Yankees and what you're supposed to be this year, there's no guarantees. I feel like you say it, like Aaron Judge not playing right field, LeMahieu not hitting his best. Like, they're like, I feel like in the years past, they've kind of waited for the playoffs, bringing back guys 2 games before the season, before the playoffs start. Like, I feel like they're kind of in that same mindset this year, but that's when they were on track to win 95 games. They were stuck, either winning the division or probably getting one of those first wild card spots. But like, there's no guarantees this year. I saw the stat. I think it was actually Ryan Garcia that retweeted it. Is that like in like 2005, the Yankees were like 29 and like 31 after 60 games, and like another year they were like 28 and like 32. So it was something like that. And like, it was similar years, both the years they made the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But like I'm sure I didn't dive into the numbers from those years, honestly, but I'm sure if you look back at those numbers, the offensive stats were probably not the bottom of the league, So like, where is the help coming from? That surge of taking you to the playoffs is coming. Where is the help? What is the help?
Yeah, I mean, first off, they need a center fielder at some point. As much as I do want them to give Florial a chance, even if it's in the interim, my thinking with him is at least you get some defense out there, push Guardy to a corner. And Florial, I know he's going to strike out a ton. Maybe he pops you a couple homers. And even if the guy bats 200 like the rest of the lineup, at least when he puts the ball on the ground, it's not automatic double play because he's got some speed. So that's my thinking. But he's not the long-term solution. We know Hicks is done for the year. They need a center fielder at some point. I've seen a million names, whether it's Joey Gallo, whether it's Andrew Benintendi, whether, I think Starling Marte could be a great fit. Ketel Marte, if somehow, he's available and Cashman pays up that prospect capital. I need a center fielder in here at some point. In the interim, they got to put these guys in better position to succeed. Giancarlo Stanton's got to play 6 out of every 7 games. Let him get his timing back. This team is starved for power. The best power hitter on this team is Giancarlo Stanton. As great as Aaron Judge is, Giancarlo Stanton has a 900 career OPS. Like, the guy is awesome. So you need to let him play, get out of this funk. And if he's not healthy enough to do it, stick him back on the IL and put him on a rehab assignment until he is, because what he's doing right now is not helping him. Then they have to, with Andujar and Frazier, you can't stick them both in the same outfield. I really respect how hard Miggy's tried. I know Clint's trying too. Fact of the matter is, neither of them are good. Neither of them will probably be ever anything besides below average in the outfield. So if you want to play them, play the hot hand, whoever the bat is, and then have Gardner be the defensive caddy where he comes in for the late innings. Because like I said, Aaron Judge makes that catch that Clint should have made on Sunday easily. Brett Gardner makes that catch that Andujar should have made on Saturday easily. So you need better outfield defense, especially in these late and close games when your offense isn't hitting. And if that means Andujar and Clint, like I said, only play one of them, if that means you send the other one down, then you send the other one down. Because as I feel crazy at this point, give me Florial's defense. Give me fucking Tyler Wade's defense in the game. It's crazy that I've
Are we at that point? Are we really at that
but
point?
if none of them are going to hit, at least give me something on the other side of the ball. And Wade a little bit too. You even saw it last night in the 10th. Like listen, I think he's an absolute shit hitter, but at least he's not automatic double play. Andujar Harden had 2 double plays last night. Clint hits into a ton of double plays. We hit into so many double plays. At least give me guys who, if they're going to make weak contact, are not going to go for 2 outs every single time. So I think there's that. The pitching is what it is. Severino's supposed to be coming back soon. And the starting pitching I know is leveled off. Garrett Cole had his worst start against the Rays the other day, even though some shady shit was going on a little bit with the Kiermaier. I don't want to get into it. It feels like a million years ago. And I think they've had like an ERA around 5 since that White Sox series. But overall, it's not like the Yankees are going out there and giving stinkers. I think every starting pitching effort can win them games, or at least for the most part. And the offense just gives them nothing. So at the end of the day, the easy answer is DJ needs to be DJ again. Glaber needs to be Glaber again. Gio needs to pick it up a little bit. Stan needs to be Stan. And they need Voit back. But in the interim, at least get the defense right and try and cut down the double plays. And you could do that with the guys you have.
Yeah, right now you got to play to your strengths, which right now is the pitching. And, it's almost like the same thing that the Brewers focus on. They've been hitting a lot better recently, but, they really highlighted their defense, getting that trade, getting Willy Adames. They highlighted their pitching. They focus on that. They make sure that they don't let up that many runs. You just get enough runs to get by. You know what I mean? So, the Yankees kind of have to, these guys aren't going to fucking figure it out, being 26th in every offensive category in baseball. If you're not going to do that, stop trying to play like a team that's going to hit the ball 700 feet. You're not doing that right now. So play like a team that needs to win games, because you do. You need to win games. Start focusing on defense and pitching first, as opposed to, maybe trying to figure out this lineup in every way possible. While these guys, hopefully figure it out. Aim at the pitching, aim at the defense, and get that right first. So at least you have a chance to win games while your offense doesn't hit.
You go.
No, I was going to say, at what point, because how many times have we said at the beginning of the year, we were like, the Yankees stink, this is who they are. Then there was like a 20 or 30 game stretch where like, okay, Yankees are back, we're good. And now we're in like a 10 game stretch where like, Yankees suck, we're panicking. What is this team legitimately? Like, do you think we have an answer to that yet?
Like, I do and I don't.
It's a loaded question.
Like, I know a lot of people are throwing out like this since the beginning of 2020, like, oh, they've done X, Y, Z. And like, yes, that does concern me, but it's like the 2020 season I almost want to throw out to a certain degree, because it's like that season, like you could even tell they kind of weren't taking it serious. Like we saw, they flipped a switch. They went to Cleveland. They beat up on good pitching. They took the Rays to, a game 5 in a 1-run game, when the Yankees had way less pitching last year than they have right now. Like the starting pitching bullpen, even with some of the injuries, way better on this team than it was in 2020. So this is the first season where it's really like, they're not hitting at all. So it's kind of like, how can they get the offense to where it needs to be? Like I said, they need to add a bat, preferably a center fielder. You're going to get Luke Voit back. I think DJ comes back to at least league average. I just hope that approach-wise, because a lot of people are like, oh, the Yankees are striking out too much. Like, yeah, they do need to, not strike out as much, especially in big spots with runners in scoring position. But at the same time, they're also sacrificing, certain power because they want to put the ball in play more. Like you could tell Glaber has even like said, like, yeah, it's just about putting the ball in play. It's like, no, like we kind of need you to hit for power, Glaber. Like it doesn't need to be the 38 home run guy, but like we need doubles like we saw last night. He had a 2-run bomb on Saturday. Like need more of that. It's not like you saw it on, last night. They hit 3 straight singles and Gary thankfully hits a double and they only played 2 runs at it and they're ripping Garrett Richards. Marwin Gonzalez gets a hold of one, goes out by 5 feet, Yankee Stadium job, and that ties the game. Like we need more extra base hits and less weak contact leading to double plays. So I don't know like if that's something Tim's is preaching. I think he had a quote saying like barrel the ball, which like good, hopefully, but a lot of these guys, like Andujar doesn't walk, he hits into a ton of double plays. Clint hits into a lot of double plays. Like our big boppers, even Judge Stanton into a lot of double plays. We need more home runs, more doubles, less double plays. Like I know it sounds like stupid to say, but like it really is the truth.
In Marcus Tim's defense, I will say when guys are struggling, every coach tells you, don't focus on where the ball goes. Don't focus on hitting doubles, singles, whatever it is. Focus on barreling the ball up first, and then the rest will come because you'll kind of get back into your stroke. But that can't happen because the Yankees rest the guys every 3 days, so you can't get back into the stroke. So I'm gonna that will always frustrate me. What's the Ketel Marte pitch? Why is he the number 1 guy that the Yankees are kind of looking at right now? Yankees Twitter is looking at right now, because I'm not like totally sold. I still kind of I mean, I don't know if they're going to do it now because the Cubs are still in first place, but I'm still in on Chris Bryant kind of being like the main target, mostly because I kind of tweeted and I kind of like it, and I kind of have fell into my own take a little bit. But like, what's the Ketel Marte like fandom? Like, why is that happening right now?
Yeah, I think the reason that it's Marte over
Bryant
Bryant.
or others, yeah. That I'm very specific to Bryant. That's my take. Yeah.
No, and you can make a case for either guy. I think with Marte, he does provide pop. He's a switch hitter, so it's a little more lineup balance. He plays center field, which I think is the main thing over him, over Bryant, because Bryant is a corner outfielder, third baseman. And Marte gets on base a ton. He doesn't strike out. So, like, he's the best fit-wise, and he also has a lot of, 4 years of control left at a low price. That being said, am I going to empty my prospect tank, like 3 or 4 guys? You're talking like a Davey, a Medina, maybe an Oswald Peraza for a position player. I don't know that I am. So I would take a Chris Bryant. Like, there's no left fielder right now where I'm like, oh, I can't have Chris Bryant. If the Yankees really wanted to say, like, you know what, we're going to roll defense first in center field, we're going to go Gardner, Florio, Wade, some combination of those 3, and say, sorry, Clint, sorry, Andujar, you guys aren't cutting it. We're going to bring in Chris Bryant. He's going to be our 4 hitter the rest of the year. I'm cool with that too. Like, they don't have enough power. If there was one thing I thought the Yankee team wouldn't need, it's more power. They absolutely do. So yeah, I'd be more than cool with Chris Bryant. I would be more than cool. It's just he won't fit under the luxury tax, which is the other thing.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit about it, but the Yankees will. You can make Ketel Marte fit if you give them, a good enough package and say, can you eat some of this money for this year? Chris Bryant, you're not fitting under the luxury.
Yeah, I think he's at 17.5 for this year. You're not.
Yeah, so
I mean, unless he's the only move that you make. But that's the thing. Like, I don't get why people are all in on Max Scherzer too, because he's making like $30 million. Like, I don't know where you're gonna find that unless you like jump over the luxury tax or you attach a massive contract. And who's big enough to do that other than like Stanton, Cole? Like, you're not trading either of those guys. So I don't know where that money kind of shifts over unless you commit to going over the luxury tax.
You're not. And I think with the luxury tax too, I've really, ever since they made the trade of Adam Ottavino in the offseason, which has it come back to bite the Yankees a little bit? Yeah, it fucking has. I didn't think the Red Sox would be this good. I still wanted them to trade Ottavino. In hindsight, they should have just traded him elsewhere and had someone had to eat a little money themselves. But the fact that they prioritized getting his entire $9 million off the book shows you they're serious about staying under 210. So I know they're not going to go over the tax. I'm telling myself, well, maybe because the team's been this bad and the stadium is open, it's supposed to go to 100% soon. Like, he's selling as many chicken buckets and beers and tickets as he wants. Maybe Hal will sign off on it, but they've stayed under for this long. I just can't see it happening. So I'm ready to go nuclear on July 31st when we add nobody of significance, but I'm praying that there's a small chance until we get to that day.
Yeah, and in terms of coaching and, obviously Cashman, that's not happening. Boone would surprise me to no end. Cashman, obviously not happening this season. I doubt this offseason either, depending on the result, obviously. But at this point, I know I was just saying that 6.5 games is tough to get back from, but it's not fireable. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's frustrating because you need to be better, but it's not fireable. It's not yet. If we get to July and, this is still kind of the situation, maybe we're telling a different story, but as of this moment right now, Boone's not being fired. So the change needs to come with the players.
And look, the bottom line is, and this will be the last thing I say, as much as I want the Ketel Marte, the Chris Bryant, even like the Starling Marte, I think those are moves that the Yankees need to make if they want to win a World Series. Like, they can't go through, in October getting no offensive production from 2 of the 3 outfield spots. That being said, there's no one guy you could bring in. I don't care if it's Scherzer, Ketel Marte, Bryant. You can bring in 2 of those guys. It doesn't matter if the guys they have in place aren't better. If Stanton isn't playing 6 games a week and mashing, if Gio doesn't pick it up a little bit, if Gleyber doesn't find his power, if DJ doesn't stop being 11% worse than league average, these guys all need to pick it up. And even if these guys do pick it up and you still get nothing from Clint, Andujar, and Gardner, then we're not having this conversation. They're not going 2-5 this week. If the guys in place play to legitimately just a little bit worse than their career numbers, we're fine right now. A lot of these guys are playing a lot worse than their career numbers. So that's the main thing that needs to happen. No matter who they bring in or don't bring in, they need their 1 through 6 hitters in the lineup to play better.
Yeah, and that's the bottom line, and I agree. That's the last thing we'll say about it, because maybe they'll sweep the Twins and everyone will be like, all right, we're fine.
Listen, give me a 4-1 week, and I'm sure I'll be on here next week saying like, oh, we're back and everything. But at the same time, like we're horrible against our division. We're horrible against everyone, and the line, the pitching is finally caught up to the lineup where now we're not winning games, and it sucks.
Yeah. So speaking of people that are winning games and almost in an opposite direction, because you really wouldn't expect them to based on how many injuries they've suffered, is the New York Mets. They're 29-23, 3.5 games up in the NL East, which is kind of crazy considering how, the Braves are so talented. Obviously, they're kind of starting to come back around. They were sitting around fourth in the division for a little bit, but now they're back up at second. Phillies 4 games back at just under 500. But I mean, the Mets have been, a really good story so far. I mean, a lot of people have been focusing on the Yankees. But I mean, the Mets have quietly been, they're in first place. So they've quietly been one of the best teams in baseball this year when there's been a lot of other distractions around them. And your star player that you just signed to $34 million he's been better, but he's batting .218 right now. So I got to tip the cap to the Mets. I mean, we've made fun of them a lot, but I mean, they're playing well. DeGrom, obviously, GOAT. Stroman pitching his ass off right now. Taijuan Walker hurt, but coming back pitching well this year, and the offense is doing just enough. I mean, 7-3 in their last 10. So I mean, good for the Mets. Good for the Mets, man.
No, absolutely. I mean, look, I know the NL East hasn't been the greatest this year. I really thought the Braves would be better than they are. They've underachieved. That being said, when you look at what the Mets have had to endure, DeGrom missed a couple of starts. Walker missed a start or two. Lindor, like you said, hitting .218. Alonso missed time. Conforto, McNeil still out. Literally, their 3 top center fielders, Nimmo, Pilar, and Almora.
Syndergaard going back on the IL. Syndergaard not even coming close to being back.
Syndergaard gets hurt. Carrasco was supposed to be fine for opening day. Now he's probably not going to pitch till July. JD Davis hurt. The list goes on like crazy, and this team has just found a way to keep winning games. I want to say it's 2019 Yankees-esque. I don't think the 2019 Yankees were ever as injured at a certain point in time as the Mets. I really don't. It's incredible what they've been doing. And it really is a testament to their starting pitching. What DeGrom has done, obviously historic. Through 9 starts, I saw a graphic. It was comparing him to one of Bob Gibson's best years. And I think it was 2000 Pedro. And his numbers are arguably the best of the 3. The guy is incredible. He's the MVP of the National League right now. I don't want to hear debate for anyone else. I think he's not only the Cy Young, he's the MVP. Marcus Stroman, who I'm on the record as not liking personally whatsoever, he has bet on himself with his qualifying offer, and he's absolutely balled the fuck out. He's been one of the better number 2 starters in all of baseball. And then Taijuan Walker might legitimately be the best low-key free agency move this entire season. The guy has been unreal. He's a stud. It's crazy what they've been doing. It really is. So you gotta tip your cap to the Mets. They've established themselves as the best team in that division.
How do you think Braves fans feel right now? I mean, they got to be a little panicked, right? I mean, they were kind of up there as not the top 4, but they were supposed to be, depending on your preference at the time, at the beginning of the season, it was supposed to be Mets, Braves were kind of that 5th best team in baseball after or even the 4th best team, but it was kind of Dodgers, Padres, Yankees, and then kind of 4th, 5th was kind of Braves, Mets, 6th other team, whoever you want to be they are under 500 right now. I mean, what would we be thinking right now if we were under 500? I mean, we just ranted for 20 minutes about the Yankees, and at least we're 3 games over or 2 games over right now. They're under 500. So, I mean, they got to feel pretty stressed right now if you're a Braves fan. You're supposed to be really good too.
Yeah, I think the Braves are honestly just as much or maybe, close to as big of a shock as the Yankees are. It's just kind of hidden a little bit because their division isn't as good. So they're not as far down. Yankees in 4th right now. I thought the Braves had the potential to be the best team in baseball. I mean, obviously I still pick Dodgers the best team, but I was predicting a Dodgers-Braves NLCS rematch. I really was. I mean, you looked at the rotation they were going to throw out with Anderson, Fried, Soroka, who's now not coming back, and Morton. I thought they would be great. They're not. Obviously, they have the Ozuna situation. That's a big blow to them. I don't know. If you're a Braves fan, what are you feeling? Because you blow a 3-1 lead in the NLCS. You're thinking you're going to get your young ace back. Now he's done for the year. It's crazy. I think I don't know. I don't know if this is a biased take. I think Braves fans should be down more bad than Yankee fans right
And here's another reason why. If the Mets weren't so badly injured right now and Lindor wasn't playing, if Lindor was playing to what he is capable of, I think, and Alonso was honestly playing to what he's capable of as well, and we're near his rookie year, I mean, the Mets would probably be like 6 or 7 games up right now. You know, if they weren't so badly injured and these guys were playing up to par, obviously the pitching has been above what it should be. But, you know, let's say that pitching was good anyway, and these hitters were good. They would probably be 6, 7 games over. No, probably about 10 games over 500 right now. The Braves would be down by 7 games in the division. So like the Braves almost count their blessings for the situation they're in right now. So I don't know that Mets have a very good chance if they can get healthy to run away with this, which is not something I ever thought I'd say, because it just doesn't seem like the Braves have picked it back up.
Yeah, listen, you can't assume health in baseball, especially given what we just outlined the Mets went through. But it is unbelievable with what the Mets have gotten out of their rotation that they're going to replace Peterson and Lucchesi in the 4 and 5 spots at some point with Carrasco and Syndergaard. Like that is a scary rotation. I'll be honest, I wasn't all in on coming into the year. Obviously, you know DeGrom is DeGrom, and I'm a big Carrasco guy. I wasn't a huge believer in Stroman or Walker. They've both been incredible. And then Syndergaard is who cares at that point? At that point, I think you're probably using Noah Syndergaard as a relief option, honestly, as a relief weapon, because you don't need 5 starters in the playoffs. If you have those other 4 guys, so Noah Syndergaard comes in like the 6th inning, pitches 2 or 3 innings, like that's disgusting.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to work himself back up to a starter's workload with the injury history of his past. I mean, it's going to be tough for him to get back up to 60, 70 pitches. He'll be like Michael Kopech for the what do you call it, for the White Sox. He'll be in a similar situation with that. But I mean, a really big situation is going on in baseball right now. We'll kind of transition off the Mets. Is this foreign substance policy that baseball is really trying to put their foot down on? I mean, it looks like what they're going to start doing now is they're going to be looking at like 8 to 10 times a game at the pitchers and what they have on their gloves, their hat brims. I think there was one other spot. I don't remember where it was, but those were the 2 main spots that they're going to be focusing on. And they're going to just be doing essentially like random checks on if pine tar, or I mean, it's mostly pine tar, but if there's going to be any other substance on these pitchers' gloves. I mean, it has been the year of the pitcher. If there was ever a year to crack down on it and try to really focus on getting batting averages back up, hits back up, action in general back up in the game, I mean, they got to do it now. And I mean, I guess this has been a big enough problem. They said they did a whole fact-finding like research project to find out that enough of these guys are doing it that they really got to put their foot down on it.
Yeah, and here's my thing with it. It's just like, I think so many guys use it, like so many of them. It's like, what are we even doing here? And it's not like using foreign substances on the baseball is a brand new thing. Like I understand like people have gotten more to spin rates the past couple of years, so maybe you can kind of better understand when a guy is versus isn't using it. But it's like, do you really think that the stuff on the baseballs is the main reason for pitching dominance and why we're seeing what we're seeing? Like, do you think so? I don't know.
No, I don't think it is. I think that it is. And again, I hate that I agree with him kind of more often than not, but Trevor Bauer was right. When the Astros got traded or would take in these guys and all of a sudden their spin rates go up a crazy amount. It's like, yo, like, what are you guys doing over there? It probably had to do with some foreign substance. I don't know if it was pine tar specifically. I guess we'll honestly probably never know exactly what it was. But I mean, there was something up with it. And then Trevor Bauer, he said his spin rate was going to go up like 400 RPM if he would use that stuff. Guess what? The next year, his spin rate goes up 400 RPM and becomes a Cy Young. So like, I mean, it's not like a coincidence. I do believe that the substances have an effect on strikeouts. I think it's tough because I don't want to take away from what these guys have done over the past few years, but the fact that the balls were kind of fucked with in the beginning, you know what I mean? Like how they were taking away from like they took down the seams when they juiced the balls, they took down the seams, made the ball harder to grip. So now these pitchers have to make an adjustment. Now they've gotten used to it. And now, the balls are a little bit easier to throw. And now it's kind of crazy because now they have better baseballs that are easier to throw. and pine tar, or whatever, forage substance is. So I think that this has a reason for it, but I also think that they've just kind of gotten used to it over the years. And I think that they are just better with it now, so it's a combination of a bunch of different things, but I don't know if this is really going to change too much. I was looking at one stat that said like Garrett Cole's spin rate from his start was down like 6%. Trevor Bauer's was 10%, but they were generalizing these numbers. So they're a little inflammatory to the point where it was just like all of their pitches grouped together. So I think you need a bigger sample size before you start pointing at certain pitchers, which they're trying to do. And they're trying to say like, okay, this pitcher has been doing it. Go check him as much as you can. Like they're targeting with it 100%. But you need a bigger sample size before you start pointing out that specific pitchers are doing it, because there's no way 10% and 6% spin rate is going down that much. It could just be like a fastball focus lineup, a curveball focus lineup. So I'm not ready to say it's a huge issue yet, but I mean, it's interesting to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I saw the Garrett Cole start that everyone's been talking about. Like, I obviously watched that game, and he wasn't sharp. But was that the first time I've seen him not be sharp as a Yankee? No, he was facing the Rays, and he's been arguably worse against the Rays, I would say. Or I shouldn't say worse. He's had dominant starts against the Rays too, but he's had a couple stinkers against the Rays too, or at least by Garrett Cole standards. So I don't know. I just think too, like, foreign substances isn't a new concept. And we've been seeing strikeouts go up for a while. It's part of the, analytic mentality of baseball. Who cares about it? It's what I said before. It's what I want the Yankees to do more than they're doing now. Literally strike out more. Don't sacrifice quality of contact just for the sake of putting the ball in play. Hit home runs. So I think that, the juice balls and the home run numbers going up kind of hid the strikeouts a little bit. But now that, the balls aren't as juiced, we're not seeing as many home runs. There's a crisis to get more offense back in. I think it's just all a mess. They got to stop messing with everything and kind of just let these guys play it out. So I don't know. I think there's other kind of interesting ideas to get the ball in play more. I think that maybe I'm not a huge ban the shift guy, but like I've seen a couple arguments where it makes sense. Like if you limit it in certain ways, because it is incredibly hard to hit doubles now, where it's like, why are guys going to swing for anything besides a home run when you really can't like split the shift and hit doubles? So I don't know what the way is to get more action in baseball. I don't think it's this, but we'll see what kind of effect it has.
Yeah, and I never used any foreign substance on the baseball. If anyone's wondering, when I was pitching, but I mean, I've used pine tar on, when you're using a wood bat, and you have an advantage as a hitter when you obviously have pine tar on the bat. And Trevor Bauer, I'm agreeing with him again. He said, we need an even playing field. He's like, I don't care what we do, but as long as it's even, it's got to be even. And I don't want to necessarily compare apples to apples with pine tar on a bat and pine tar on a baseball. It is a little different. But I mean, if you're allowed to use it in one part of the game, why can't you use it on the other? I feel like there's got to be some sort of regulation with the baseball, because when you throw a brand new white baseball, a white baseball, like an actual pearl where it's like just out of the box, that's not easy. You gotta rub dirt on it. You gotta you literally, I don't know if you ever would watch us before our high school games. We would literally take the baseballs. We would like lick our fingers. We would get dirt on it. We would literally do this right that, because they're not possible to throw well. When you're getting these new pearls that are brand new, they're slippery. You guess what? You're going to hit a guy. You're going going 100 miles an hour. You're not going to get a grip on it when they're lowering the seams and all that stuff too. It's not a fair advantage. These baseballs are hard to throw. Just like past the seams, the surface of the baseball itself is slippery. So, I mean, these pine tars, it's protecting people, I'm sure, long-term, not getting hit in the face. And like Trevor Bauer says, it's an even playing field. So I'm not necessarily against just rubbing some dirt on it. You know what I mean? That's all pine tar is. It's rubbing some dirt.
And that's kind of my question too. I don't know if they've like outlined this, but it seems to be the general consensus that like pine tar for the most part is okay. Like I've seen a lot of hitters defend the use of pine tar because of what you just said. They don't want to get hit with, these guys are still going to throw 98, 99, 100, 101, like, substances or not. It has nothing to do with velocity. So
the heat, it's going to be slippery too. You're going to sweat right off.
Yeah. So they need that to happen. But I guess it's more so like some of these concoctions, like the mixes of like sunscreen and rosin and stuff like that really contribute to the RPM. So do I really trust fucking like Joe West going out to the mound to decipher what? Like, I promise you, like week 1, day 1 of this, Joe West is gonna go out. There's gonna be a guy with like pine tar on the baseball, like has been happening for the last 150 years. And he's gonna run a guy to make it the Joe West show. Like, do you not see that happening? Because that is 100% going to happen. So it's like
these guys aren't up to date with what these pitchers are using either. They're gonna see anything on there because I'm sure MLB is saying crack down on it. So they're gonna see anything on there and just start tossing guys.
So I think it's just going to be a huge, huge mess. And I think that if it really was as big of a problem as MLB is making it out to be, you would see certain managers being like, hey, let's go check that guy. Like, you've never seen a manager say when the broadcast shows a guy with stuff on his glove or stuff on his hat, like, oh, go check that guy. Except fucking Michael Pineda being an idiot and putting it on his neck on Sunday Night Baseball a couple years ago. Like, you never see a manager being like, hey, go check that guy. Why? Because his guy, either his starter the next day, his third guy out of the bullpen, someone's using the same exact shit. So I don't know what cracking down is going to do. I think it's just going to be a big mess, but I mean, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out and how people try to. I think people are going to start cherry picking stats too with pitchers that they don't like. They're going to be like, "Oh, look at this start. His curveball went down like 7,000 RPM." Like, dude, no, maybe he just wasn't good that day.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have.
Guess what? Sometimes you're not good.
Yeah,
sometimes you're not good at baseball. It happens.
Crazy.
So let's what in terms of what the hell else is going on in baseball right now. I got frustrated by that discussion. Cubs are still rocking in first place. They're tied with the Brewers. The NL Central race is actually very close. The Reds kind of climbed themselves back into it. They were 7-3 in their last 10. So that's actually kind of heating up as one of the better divisions. But the NL West, specifically itself, the Giants are still in first place out there. I mean, it's unbelievable what they're doing. The Padres 2 games behind them. The Dodgers 3 games behind the Giants. And then the Rockies and Diamondbacks are, fucking abyss of Major League Baseball. But I mean, the NL is, because we already covered the East for a little bit. I mean, it's exciting right now. There's a lot of good teams that I think it's the Giants being obviously the most surprising. But I mean, it's going to be a really interesting race, coming down to it because everyone was assumed Dodgers, Padres coming out of the NL. But I mean, these teams are playing good. The Brewers, unreal pitching. The Cubs have exceeded expectations because everyone was expecting to rebuild. And, it's been very exciting, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Dodgers and Padres will end up overtaking the Giants at some point. Like, I think that as cool as it is what the Giants have done, I think it's another case of a little bit of sample size. And that's not a knock on the Giants. I just think the Dodgers and Padres are both so deep pitching wise. They have better lineups. They're going to end up prevailing. Like, people forget the Dodgers had, what was it, like a 4-15 stretch? Like, the Dodgers arguably had the worst stretch for a good team across baseball this entire year. People just forget about it because they've been able to recover in the Dodgers, and it's 162 games, so they'll be fine. The Central, I did not see coming. I didn't see the Cubs being this good. Do they have the pitching to hold up? I have no idea. The Brewers, like you said before, fully leaned into, fuck it, we have a nasty pitching staff. Let's just field our asses off for them.
I love that.
Woodruff, Burns, Peralta is such a nasty top 3. I think they've really put themselves on the map this year, made themselves into a little bit more of household names, than they were in years past. And then the Reds, I mean, Nick Castellanos and Jesse Winker, how can you not enjoy watching a team with those 2 guys? Like, literally just 2 of the most electric guys to watch on a baseball field.
It's a lot of fun to watch. And I wish that the Yankees kind of would play the Reds every now and then. I mean, obviously that interleague play like consistently, they kind of stopped a few years ago, obviously because of COVID and just for a bunch of other reasons. It didn't really work out as much, but I kind of liked when they kind of intermatch the leagues a little bit more. I would love to see the Yankees play the Reds because they're an exciting team to watch. Just all around. You even got guys like Amir Garrett, just like all around. When they used to have Derek Dietrich, they went with the sleeveless jerseys. Like, that was awesome. I feel like their culture is just a lot of fun. And they're at least involved in the division, which is kind of all you can ask for a team that has absolutely no pitching. So at least we get to see them be competitive at the end of the year, just based on Castellanos and Winker being unbelievable hitters. Do you think they get moved? Do you think they get traded, one of them? Because I mean, their value will never be higher. They're both MVP candidates right now. If you're the Reds, do you move them or do you just be like, yo, we have to be competitive? Like, again, like we can't go back to whatever that rebuild was for like 10 years after Griffey.
I think they'd be stupid not to. Like, are the Reds really winning anything this year? I mean, I don't know how controllable Winker is. I know Castellanos, I think, has like 2 or 3 years left. I think he has 3 years left. it's not like crazy that he might opt out with the year he's having and trying.
He's got an opt out somewhere.
Yeah, like a 4 or 5 year deal, especially if the DH comes to the National League next year. There'll definitely be a big market for Nick Castellanos. So I think you might only be trading for 1 year of him potentially. So this could be their last chance to trade him unless they're planning on re-signing him. So I think they got to trade both those guys. Like just the division alone, like are they better than the Brewers? Are they even better than the Cardinals? Are they better than the Cubs? I don't know that they are. And then past that, are you getting past the Mets or the Dodgers or the Padres? No, you're not. So I would trade them if I were them.
I mean, Yankees, Jesse Winker, Jesse Winker,
I mean, he's the prototypical guy you talk about, be having a swing for Yankee Stadium. Let me see how controllable he is right now.
A little live research session right here.
Yeah, this is behind the scenes live right now. He's 27. Let's say there's no way he's only controllable for 1 year. Sometimes they show the contract as like 1 year because it was like this was the contract they negotiated like before. Like
and he's like arbitration
this year's contract. All right, so he's in arbitration right now. He only makes $3 million this year, so he's gonna command a fuck ton. Okay, so he's got 2 years of control left after this. So he's got his last 2 years of arbitration. So he's making just over $3 million this year. A team that trades for him at the deadline, you're talking about like $1.5 million. So he's going to command a lot. And then you look at his age 28 season, second year of arbitration, giving the season he's having, definitely a significant salary increase. But I mean, still affordable for, if he keeps this up. So
yeah, and
would be perfect. He'd be perfect.
While we're taking him, we'll just take Luis Castillo off your hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he's
not good anymore.
He can figure it out.
Yeah, why Reds don't need him. He's not good. We'll just take him off. We'll take him off your hands for free. You know what I mean?
It feels crazy that we're sitting here like pre-trade deadline clamoring for a bat and not a pitcher. I don't remember the last time that happened.
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of kudos to Cashman for being decent at paying for pitching. Finally, he decent enough-ish.
Right. Good job, Brian.
Congrats. Nick, what's your not safe for work this week?
So my not safe for work this week, it's a Tyler O'Neill grab to end the game against the Dodgers off the bat of Mookie Betts. It was runners on first and second at the time. They're at Dodger Stadium. He makes this awesome like leaping grab going into the wall to end the game. And just like game-ending catches like that are so satisfying, especially look at on the road against one of the better teams in the league in the Dodgers, Mookie Betts, like just so fucking awesome. So yeah, not safe for work at all.
Not safe for work at all. Mine, I agree with you. I love game-ending catches because that like remember when Hicks made that one in center field and everyone just goes nuts like the game is over like right after a guy just like dove or ran into a wall. It's so much cooler.
It's the best.
Much better vibes. Mine is a first base pickoff throw, which you never see anymore. It's like as rare as a bunt, honestly. It was Wilson Contreras picking off. Who was it? It was Dickerson on the Giants. Like I was looking at the jersey number. It was Dickerson on the Giants. Picked him off at first base, absolute bullet over the first base. It must have been 200 miles an hour over there. But regardless, definitely not safe for work. If you're a base runner, don't look at it.
A good snap throw, definitely underrated.
Yeah, a good snap throw. I mean, really gets the blood flowing. Yeah,
it really does because it's always so unexpected too.
I remember I used to do it as a catcher all the time, but it's like what it is. What it is.
Why not? Yeah.
Everyone's talking about it. Might as well lean into it.
Yeah, people still talk about it.
Everyone. All right. Anything else? I think that was mostly everything.
No, that's it. I got my rant out against the Yankees.
A little better, yeah.
Gave the Mets praise, touched on the rest of the league. It's pretty much all you could do.
All right. Well, let's hope the Yankees actually have a decent week of baseball. Fuck the Minnesota Twins and go Yankees.
Later, skaters.
All right. Peace.